It was a completely normal Wednesday morning in Siegen, Germany. The clock showed 6:30 a.m., and in the kitchen of the Burger family, the air smelled of fresh coffee and warm rolls. Johannes Burger sat at the head of the large oak table that he had built himself many years ago. Next to him were his 3 children. Lucas, 16 years old and already almost as tall as his father, with dark curls and a calm gaze. Then Anna, 13, who always had a book in her hand, and little Clara, 10, with her braids and freckles, looking like she could hug the whole world. The children were eating their cereal, even Dad, when he suddenly lowered his spoon. "Listen up before you have to leave." He smiled, and in his eyes there was something the children immediately felt: anticipation. "Starting tomorrow, we have a long weekend. We're going to the Spessart forest in Germany." For a moment, it was quiet. Then the cheering erupted. Lucas slammed his fist on the table, making the cups rattle. "Finally! We've been to the Taunus, the Odenwald, and even the Holzwarte, but the Spessart? That's new." Anna clapped her hands, and Clara bounced up and down on her chair. "Hiking, with backpacks and everything!" Johannes laughed. "Exactly. I've rented a vacation apartment right in the middle of the forest, perfect for the 4 of us. And this time, we're doing a really big tour, 7 or 8 hours of hiking. Pack everything you need, knives for carving, binoculars, whatever is important to you." The children were so excited that they almost forgot to go to school. Johannes watched them as they stormed out of the house with their school bags. For 7 years, he had been alone with them. The loss of their mother had bonded them tightly, and hiking was their way of healing together. The Spessart felt like a new chapter. In the afternoon, as soon as the children returned, the packing began. Backpacks were filled. Lucas with his pocket knife and a small sketchbook, Anna with her notebook and a thermos of tea, Clara with her stuffed rabbit and a handful of small but important stones, 12 of them: jasper, sapphire, chalcedony, emerald, sardonyx, carnelian, chrysolite, beryl, topaz, chrysoprase, jacinth, and amethyst. Johannes loaded the suitcases into the car and checked the route one last time. The apartment was in a small town called Frammersbach, right in the heart of the Spessart forest in Germany. The next morning at 7 o'clock, they set off. The highway was still clear. The sun rose over the hills. When they reached the forest, the road became narrower, the trees denser. Beeches and oaks towered like ancient guardians into the sky. They arrived shortly after 11. The vacation apartment was a cozy, half-timbered house with a view of the forest. "Perfect!" shouted Clara, and immediately ran into the garden. In the afternoon, they took a short walk through the town. The air smelled of resin and damp leaves. In the evening, as always on vacation, they went to a restaurant, an old inn at the edge of the forest called Zum Goldenen Hirsch. Candles burned on the tables, and the innkeeper brought hearty Spessart specialties: wild boar roast and homemade dumplings. While they were eating dessert, Johannes leaned back. It was Saturday evening, and the mood was relaxed and cozy. "Do you know why the Spessart is so special? There's an old story about it. The Inn in the Spessart by Wilhelm Hauff." The children looked at him curiously. Johannes told the story in a calm, warm voice. The story takes place right in this area, many hundreds of years ago. A young merchant named Felix travels through the Spessart and stops at a lonely inn. There he meets a colorful group: a rich count, a gambler, a professor, and even some shady characters. During the night, it turns out that the inn is about to be attacked by a band of robbers. The young girl who serves at the inn, she is often called the beautiful innkeeper's daughter in the story, is brave and clever. She secretly warns the guests and helps them outsmart the robbers. In the end, it is not violence that wins, but cunning and togetherness. The story shows that you never really know who you meet on the road, and that in the darkest night, sometimes the greatest light appears. Lucas nodded, impressed. That sounds exciting. Just like with us. You always meet the right people. At the right time. Anna smiled. I like that a girl saves the heroes. Clara snuggled closer to her father. Tell us more, Dad. Johannes laughed and told a few more details. How the robbers lurked in the forest, how the young merchant became brave, and how in the end, everyone was saved because they trusted each other. The children hung on his every word until the candles had almost burned down. The next morning they slept in and only started at 9. Everyone had their backpack on. Lucas had his knife, Anna her sketchbook, Clara her stones. The circular trail first went up a gentle slope, then deep into the beech forest. The sun fell through the canopy like golden arrows. After 2 hours, the first, "How much further?" calls came from Clara. But then they saw a deer standing motionless at the edge of the forest, looking at them with big eyes. Shortly afterwards, a hare darted across the path, and Anna found a feather, blue-striped, shimmering like the sky. "A Eurasian jay," she called. "I've always wanted one like this." The mood rose. After about 3.5 hours, they reached a clearing with an old wooden bench. "Rest stop," announced Johannes. They sat down, unpacked snacks, bread with cheese, apples, chocolate. The air was warm, birds were chirping. It didn't take 3 minutes before another family came down the path. A woman in her mid-30s, athletic, with long brown hair tied in a ponytail. Next to her, a girl of about 14, slim with curious eyes, and a 10-year-old boy who used a stick as a hiking staff. The woman stopped. "Oh, the bench is already taken." She smiled apologetically. Johannes stood up immediately. "Come on, kids, we'll make room. Sit down here, we'll take the grass." The Burger children jumped up without hesitation. "Of course," called Lucas. Claire was already spreading her jacket on the grass. The other family hesitated. "You don't have to," said the woman. But the Burger children insisted. Finally, the newcomers sat on the bench, and the Burgers made themselves comfortable on the grass. "Thank you," said the woman softly. "I'm Katerina. This is Mia and Ben. From Cologne, Germany. Johannes, Lucas, Anna, Clara. From Siegen, Germany." It started quite innocently. The children began to talk. Mia and Lucas immediately discovered that they both loved to draw. Ben and Clara compared their stones. Anna told them about the jay feather. The adults talked about the trail, the weather, the beauty of the forest. Then it became deeper. Katerina looked at her children. "It's nice that they are so carefree." Her voice faltered for a moment. "For 4 years, it's just the 3 of us. Their father, he just left. With a woman from Thailand. To Thailand. Just like that." Johannes nodded slowly. He knew this pain. "In our case, the mother is missing. For 7 years now. Cancer. It was hard." Katerina looked at him. In her eyes was something he immediately recognized. Deep, not yet fully healed grief. The children noticed nothing. They were already laughing at a joke from Ben. Johannes continued quietly. "It took me a long time to see light again. Then, I started thinking about Jesus, how he carried people who had lost everything. He helped me not to become bitter, and he gave me strength to be there for the children." Katerina listened. She was not dismissive. On the contrary, "I haven't thought about God for a long time, but I sometimes wonder why all this happened." The conversations continued to flow. The children played nearby, threw sticks, looked for mushrooms. The adults talked about loss, about forgiveness, about hope. It wouldn't stop. Finally, Johannes stood up. "Listen, we actually wanted to take the normal circular route back. But if you like, we can take the shorter path and walk together. Then we can keep talking." Katerina's face lit up. "Really? That would be wonderful." They continued. The path became narrower, leading through a small valley. The children ran ahead, telling stories, laughing. No one asked how much further anymore. Mia and Lucas walked side by side and spoke quietly. Clara and Ben raced each other. Anna collected leaves for a herbarium. When the vacation house came into view, Mia stopped. "What? We're already here? That went way too fast." Everyone laughed. Katerina and Johannes looked at each other. "We have to see each other again," she said. "Still this weekend?" "Absolutely," answered Johannes. In the evening, they ate together at the Golden and Hirsch. The mood was light and warm. Lucas and Mia sat next to each other and talked about God. Lucas told how Jesus had helped him deal with his mother's death. Mia listened thoughtfully. Katerina and Johannes sat a bit apart. The conversations became deeper. Katerina asked a lot. Johannes answered honestly, without pressure. On Sunday afternoon, before the Burgers left, they met again for a meal. Phone numbers were exchanged. "We'll stay in touch," promised Johannes. And they did. For weeks they wrote to each other. Lucas and Mia chatted almost every day. He sent her Bible verses, she told him her thoughts. Katerina and Johannes talked on the phone, first briefly, then longer. She had so many questions. How do you manage not to stay angry? Johannes spoke of forgiveness, of prayer, of the strength he had found. After half a year, the connection was so close that they planned another long weekend, this time halfway, near Gießen, Germany, in a small town in the Taunus. Each family rented their own vacation house, only 5 minutes apart. When they met on Friday evening, it felt like they had never been apart. The children fell into each other's arms. Lucas and Mia immediately went for a walk together. Katerina and Johannes sat on the terrace until late at night talking. Something decisive changed that weekend. On Saturday evening, after a long hike, the adults sat alone by the fireplace. Katerina had tears in her eyes. "Johannes, I've thought it all through again. What you said about Jesus, how he carries the burdens, how he can forgive. I want that too. I want to give him my life." Johannes took her hand. "You don't have to do this for me. This is between you and him." "I know, but I feel it. For the first time in years, I feel peace." They prayed together. Katerina cried, but they were tears of liberation. The next morning, she told her children. Mia beamed. "I've already talked about it a lot with Lucas. I want it too." Ben nodded shyly. "Me too." The Berger children were there when the 3 from Cologne gave their lives to Jesus. It was a quiet, holy moment in the forest. The weeks that followed changed everything. Katerina wrote to Johannes, "I have forgiven my ex-husband. Really, for the first time. It doesn't hurt as much anymore. The anger is gone." The families continued to meet. The distance between Siegen and Cologne was large, but phones and weekends kept them together. Lucas and Mia became inseparable, not just friends, but soulmates who grew together in faith. 1 year later, Johannes and Katerina sat on a bench again, this time in a park in Cologne. The children were playing nearby. "I can't imagine a life without you anymore," said Johannes softly. Katerina smiled. "Then let's stop imagining it. Let's live it." The children came running. Clara called, "Dad, Katerina, when are you finally getting married?" Everyone laughed. Lucas and Mia looked at each other and grinned. Johannes took Katerina's hand. Soon. Very soon. The Spessart had brought them together. An unexpected meeting on a bench in the forest. A conversation about loss and hope. And a love that was greater than everything they had lost. They were no longer 2 families. They were one. And they kept hiking together. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching this story with me until the end. In a world that often feels cold and noisy, stories like this, profound, heartfelt, and full of faith, are so important. If you'd like more of these, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new one. Let me know in the comments how this story touched you. I really read every single comment. May God bless you with a wonderful day. See you soon.